guys. Sergeant's four horsemen.
This is the Big Red One.
Combat rejects sure know how to lay down fire. Sergeant! Sergeant! Sergeant!
Rough.
Hey guys, I'm Kevin.
I'm Jake.
And this is Movie Matters. So we finally figured out what we're doing this month. The month of May, Memorial Day is coming up. So we're going to do war films from the 80s. And we're starting off with The Big Red One from 1980, directed by Samuel Fuller. I've never seen it. I'll give my brief thoughts here real quick. At first, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes to an hour in, I was like, I don't know if I like this movie. And then once I finished it, I was like, I actually really like this movie. What'd you think, Jake?
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. Overall, I think it's a pretty good movie. I think it's a little confused about what it wants to be at times.
Interesting.
But overall, I don't think it was bad.
Why do you think that?
So, up until the last, 20 minutes or so, it kind of walks this line between, realistic war movie and, weird, lighthearted, dick humor. A lot of the time. Which is, I don't know. Whatever, and then the last 20 minutes of the movie are super dark. And it wraps up in this really dark note. But I mean, I don't know, it's just, I feel like we've talked about this before, this was kind of a weird time in cinema. I feel like they were trying to make a movie while using the 60s and 70s war movie template.
Yeah.
But trying to do something more, and they didn't quite do it until the end of the movie, I think, is where you start to see kind of that glimmer of stuff like Full Metal Jacket or some of the gritty war movies that come out later in the 80s. So yeah, it's just not quite there for me, but I mean, it was still overall pretty good. I liked everybody that acted in it. I think everybody is really, really good. And there are some really great sequences. So
yeah. So the reason, and this kind of ties into what you're saying, the reason I didn't like it at first is because the movie it didn't seem like it was taking itself too seriously.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason I thought that is because there was no blood. There's very little blood. It's, for such a crazy war movie that's about the horrors of war, it didn't show any blood. And Samuel Fuller did that on purpose because he literally wanted to just focus on these characters, these, four men and the sergeant. He wanted to focus on their experiences. And it's kind of built into these sequences, divided into these segments, these vignettes of these crazy battles and points of history with World War II with the American side. And it gets darker and darker, and I think that's why I started liking it, because it was showing the realistic side of war. But again, the goofiness to me was just because there was no blood, and I'm just these people are getting shot and falling and kind of looks like they're fake dying because there's no blood. That's why at first I was this movie's kind of weird. I don't know, but I really liked the characters. I loved the acting. It's shot super well. It's a good movie. I don't think I'll ever watch it again, to be honest. But I'm glad we watched it.
Yeah, I think to piggyback off that a little bit, I think a lot of the sequences kind of lacked like gravity and stakes. I think part of it is the choice to like not really depict it super realistically, but also like there's just a lot of like I'd say maybe misplaced levity in some of those, and like this squadron is like famous for being involved in like every single major like event in the war. So like like they saw some like real shit, and like, you know, I felt like it was not, like you said, like it was not taking itself seriously at first. I feel like it kind of does a disservice by not particularly taking the subject matter like too seriously, which is, it was a little jarring to me. I was like, you know, like at first I'm like, okay, you know, like they're young guys, or they're, you know, going in, you know, whatever, and like they make it through, you know, like the first battle, like, okay, you know, and then like it kept being a little too passive, you know, like with things.
Yeah.
You know, then like, I mean, there were some good actual like fighting sequences. Like the sequence in the cave is actually a really great scene.
Yeah.
The scene in the forest where it's like all foggy is a really good scene too.
D-Day. I mean,
D-Day scene is really good.
If you think about it, every scene's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, and like they are really well done vignettes. But yeah, I mean, I feel like if it was just a tad more serious, it would be a little more like gripping and like have you a little bit more engaged.
Yeah, and I agree. And when I think from my perspective, and in terms of the seriousness, like I said, it's the blood aspect of it, and then what was I going to say? It's the blood aspect, and damn it, I've lost my train of thought. I'll have to come back to that.
That's all right.
But yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed it, and I just was reading that. So we watched this on Amazon. We rented it on Amazon. I think it's funny because it's like this kind of speaks to the no blood in it. It's like rated 7+, flashing lights on Amazon. That's literally the rating. I was like, what? A war movie?
There's a lot of like sex jokes in it, so I was a little surprised by that. But
yeah, and so this movie was originally rated R by the MPAA, and they appealed it and changed it to PG, which is kind of interesting. I mean, granted,
80s,
there is,
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That reminds me. I know what I was going to say with the blood. It's also a product of its time, with it being, it was shot in the 70s, and obviously it came out in 80. It's a product of how it's made, I feel like, and you were kind of alluding to that, and that's why I think it, in terms of the seriousness, we're used to like Saving Private Ryan, you know, Schindler's List, you know, Platoon being another kind of gritty war movie, Black Hawk Down, stuff like that. We're used to movies of that caliber, and I think that's kind of why. Versus this movie is, it's almost like a play, kind of. It's interesting because, like I said, it's little vignettes and little sequences of action, but it's I don't know. It just, I don't want to like belittle it and say it's shitty by not taking itself serious in terms of it being a bad movie. You know what I mean?
I just feel like it would have been more enjoyable. I mean, it was still good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it would have given it that like missing factor if had it done that, you know.
Now, that brings me to like a question. War films, they like kind of romanticize war and glorify war, and like they make it action packed and want to include blood and guts and like harrowing events. And again, it kind of like romanticizes it. And I think this movie doesn't romanticize it. And at least that's its point, from my perspective. And it seemed like from reading about it, Samuel Fuller, the director's experience, obviously it's based on his real life experiences in World War II, which is also crazy. But this kind of brings me to an off topic, another movie called Warfare that just came out. Did you see it?
No.
So I saw it, and I did not like it. And it's supposed to be super realistic, and it's based on memory. So this movie kind of reminded me of that, where it's like Samuel Fuller's memories of World War II and the craziness and grittiness of it. And Warfare is like that, but with the Iraqi war and or the war in Afghanistan. And it just didn't do anything to me. Didn't do anything for me because I couldn't connect with the characters. It literally takes place in like real time in one section, and you don't know what the fuck these soldiers are doing. It just, I don't know. I see the pros and cons to that movie, but this movie was similar to that, but way better because you connect to the characters and you like the characters. And I'd argue, and this, I don't want this to, again, belittle the Iraq-Afghanistan war and everything, like the war in the Middle East. World War II is a much more interesting topic.
Well, I think
subject.
it's a lot more clear to people.
Yes.
You know, like it's
studied
pretty
more in history,
straightforward. You know, the Nazis were bad guys. We're the good guys.
Yeah.
We're going to go get them. You know, I think it was pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, I also love how this movie begins with World War I. You've got the sergeant, Lee Marvin, who is awesome in this fucking movie. Yeah. He's so great. And he kills an unarmed German soldier who's surrendering, and it's like the war's been over for 4 hours, and he's just like, oh, fuck. And yeah, and then it fast forwards to him as the sergeant in World War II, which is crazy. And I think his character is awesome, and I love how the movie bookends with that same kind of sequence. And I'll get to that later, but I think it's crazy that this is all Samuel Fuller's experiences. I mean, he was actually with Big Red 1, like in that squad. This movie was all like The Beast of War. That movie was shot in Israel. This movie was shot in Israel too. So pretty interesting. Samuel Fuller remarked that it was unsettling after a scene was shot when German soldiers and SS troops would take off their helmets, and Fuller would see them wearing yarmulkes, which is that's hilarious. And then they were like literally in full Nazi uniforms in between takes, talking about the Torah and speaking in Hebrew, which is fucking wild.
Yeah.
So pretty interesting. Just reminds me of The Beast of War and how, you know, that movie was shot in Israel. And yeah, just really interesting. What'd you think of Mark Hamill in this movie?
So I did like all of the character arcs. I thought his was probably the best.
Yeah, 100%.
His like, you know, he's kind of introduced as this like stone cold sniper who like never misses, and then when he finally like comes face to face with somebody, he like can't bring himself, you know, to kill, and he's kind of looked at as like, nobody outright says it, but like he's kind of the coward in the group, and everybody's kind of like a little iffy on whether or not he should really be there, you know, kind of thing. And then, he ends up at D-Day, dragging the, like, whatever they said, like 80-foot pipe, like, across the beach to, like, shove a grenade, like, through the barbed wire or whatever to, like, blow up the machine gun nest or whatever is there, which is a really great scene.
That is a great scene.
And, like, he kind of, shows or, like, proves himself, in that scene.
Yeah.
Then he has his moment in the end, where he brings himself to kill an enemy soldier and overkill an enemy soldier. So yeah, I mean, his arc is really interesting and definitely reminiscent of the movies that will come out later in the 80s, and that kind of like transition from like, young kid to like hardened warfighter,
Yeah, pretty crazy. Yeah, I loved his arc in it. I thought his acting was pretty good. It's pretty interesting to see him in a movie other than Star Wars.
Yeah.
He's starting to do more and more stuff now, kind of. Like he's in a lot of Mike Flanagan stuff. Mike Flanagan's the guy who did the Shining sequel, Doctor Sleep, and did Haunting of Hill House and all those shows on Netflix. Big fan of him. He's an awesome director. But yeah, Mark Hamill, this was like pre-accident. Do you know, like, yeah, he got like I think
it's a motorcycle accident.
I don't remember
or
exactly.
Car accident. It's one or
I think
the other.
car accident. I don't know. He got fucked up though.
Is in Return of the Jedi is after the accident, I think.
No, it's Empire. That's why he gets fucked up in the beginning.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah, it is
by
Empire.
the giant
yeah
bear. That I forget the name of that creature.
the Yeti.
Yeah, pretty much. I have the Star Wars action figure of that too, by the way. That big white Yeti thing. Yeah, I really like him in this movie, especially that arc at the end where he's just like he doesn't want to kill anyone, and then he sees the horrors of the concentration camp, and this German soldier is hiding in the gas chamber where they had just, killed tons of Jews, and it's, there's bones in there, it's gross, and the one's looking right at him, and his gun jams, and Mark Hamill's just like, all right, and starts like unloading on him. And I love that because like all the other characters realize it's him finally shooting his gun, and that's such a powerful scene. Mm-hmm. Again, I think it's of its time. Like this day and age, that particular scene could have a much more emotional impact, like shot differently and acted a little differently. But I still think it's very emotionally charged and such a great scene, and a turning point, like you said. I think you nailed it on the head with where they're just kids, and now he's a stone cold killer, like basically, and that also brings like a very prominent theme throughout the movie of killing versus like murder. Like, is this murder or just killing? Which is very interesting, and it's like it's a topic and subject that I feel like most people don't see it as murder. And it's just an interesting way to look at it.
I think it's the sergeant I think Mark Hamill says like we're murdering these people or something.
Yeah.
And the sergeant says like, no, we don't murder, we kill.
Yeah, murder, kill, it's the same thing. That's what he says. That's crazy. And then you get the other perspective of that with the German like commander and the other soldier. And he says the soldier says the same thing, the German soldier.
Yeah.
But then the German commander kills the soldier.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And it's interesting to see the two perspectives of war in that scenario, and just making the Germans the villain, which, I mean, to America, they were, obviously, at that time. Yeah, so there's this movie apparently has a extended and like restored version that came out in 2004, which we did not watch because it's like 160 minutes long.
Yeah, it's not the one we watched.
Yeah, it's nearly an hour longer. It's restored with 15 never seen sequences and fleshed out 23 other sequences, and that was like Samuel Fuller's original vision. You know, the studio basically just didn't want a super long war movie. They wanted like under 2 hours. So
yeah, I mean, this type of movie could get very tired if it's just like vignette after vignette after, you know, like,
yeah.
I mean, like the characters kind of tie everything together, but even so, each instance is like so isolated and like compartmentalized. Like it would just be, that would be hard.
It'd be tedious
to sit through. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be curious to watch. So maybe I take back my statement that I'll never watch it again. I would be curious to watch the extended restored cut. I wonder where you could find that. I'll have to look into that. But there's also a documentary called Reconstruction about the movie, and I'd be interested to watch that. Robert Carradine, who... what's his character's name? I'm blanking on it.
He's the writer, right?
Yes. Zab. Who is like pretty much loosely based on Samuel Fuller. That's supposed to be him. Because he was the writer in that whole book sequence where he finds that guy reading his book. That literally happened in the war, which is crazy. He had no idea. Samuel Fuller had no idea his book was published, which is crazy.
That's funny.
But yeah, so in this documentary, Robert Carradine says that when he, Mark Hamill, Bobby DeSocchio, I can't pronounce his name, and I apologize, I'm botching it, and Kelly Ward first met Lee Marvin, Marvin didn't say anything at first. After they got into a taxi to drive out to the shooting range where they would hone in their skills, Marvin finally said, "Which one of you is Carradine?" Robert Carradine answered, "I am." And Marvin's response was, "Fuck you, Carradine." That's all he said. Just imagine that. You get in a car, which one's you, Carradine? Me? Fuck you. That's like all he said, which is hilarious. And a short time later, after they'd been working together, Carradine asked Marvin why he said that to him, and Marvin replied, "Because your name was the only one I recognized." That's fucking badass. Like, from reading a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff, Lee Marvin is a fucking badass.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so good
he's
in
like
this.
He's like a big, like 60s and 70s, like kind of like, I think, war and like, if I'm remembering correctly, like war and like action kind of movie star.
He actually was in the Marine Corps, which is crazy too.
A bunch of those guys were.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah, I mean, he's in the Dirty Dozen, the Delta Force, tons of movies from the 70s, the 60s. Yeah, I mean, he's iconic.
Yeah,
and
the
he's
Dirty Dozen is probably his most well known.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So there's another. Let me see. I found another one. Yeah. So the scene. I like. Let me see. Yeah, okay. During the course of filming, Lee Marvin and Perry Lang got into an argument. While filming the scene where they come to Crucifix Hill where the Germans are planning an ambush, Lang kept waving and gesturing his arms while he spoke. After the scene was finished, Marvin growled at Lang, "What the fuck was all that crap about?" and Lang replied by cursing out Marvin. According to the other actors in the Reconstruction documentary, neither Marvin nor Lang spoke to one another for the next week. Finally, Marvin began talking to Lang and treating him with respect for standing up to him. Like, that's so awesome. Like, fuck you. That's so badass.
That's
I love
funny.
that. Yeah. So, Marvin didn't take any shit, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And gave a lot of shit.
I mean, his character doesn't take any shit either in the movie.
Yeah, 100%.
He's like the professional, in the group.
Yeah.
Like he's pretty cold, ice cold, and like, and he's the one that's, the one like, yeah, we just kill out there and like, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they talk about him wanting to shoot Hamill's character if he deserted too. Which is a pretty heavy scene. Well, I think that's the cave scene. The first time Hamill acts like he's gonna walk away, and Marvin's like getting ready to like pull his gun out and shoot him in the back. You're like, jeez.
Yeah, I like that cave scene though, where they're like basically like hiding all the bodies, kind of.
Yeah,
that was cool. I don't like, and I think this is also like the beginning saying that it was kind of cheesy, is like the like French scene where the French soldiers just start shooting at the Americans, and like they kill a couple Americans, the Americans kill a couple of the French, and then they're finally like, cease fire, and then they all run and hug each other. It's like after just like murdering some of their friends or like other soldiers. I thought that was a little goofy.
Yeah, I think
that's possible. It could have happened. I mean, again, it's his memory, but still.
That's one of those like the chaos of war, kind of scenes.
Yeah.
I feel like it's it's not handled properly.
Yeah.
It could have been, I think, done a little bit better to make you really feel like the impact and the weight of that. But yeah,
it was interesting. I love the line where it's like, the creepy thing about battle is you always feel alone. That's a great line. Even though you're with a whole bunch of people, it's like you're so isolated. You're like, your thoughts are isolated. It's like survival, which is crazy. I mean, this movie is just, it is super well done. The ambush scene is interesting because like the tank's driving over those soldiers that are in their like foxholes, and they're screaming. Apparently I thought they were getting killed, because they were getting run over, but they're just like literally, that was the only chance they could have to like scream their hearts out with all the anxiety and like terror, like them being terrified of everything. That was them screaming their fucking head off because you couldn't, like, no one could hear them because the tanks were going over them.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. I thought that was goofy, and then after reading it, I was like, oh shit, like that's crazy. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it is kind of cheesy when the sergeant gets shot, but apparently it was a recreation of how Marvin was actually wounded in real life as a Marine in the Pacific. In the film, Marvin's shot in the ass and collapses to his knees, and that apparently really happened. This movie does feel like almost Forrest Gump, because that's what happens to Forrest Gump, and like Forrest Gump is in every like crazy event. I feel like a lot of movies use this as inspiration, this film. Like, you can see its DNA, parts of its DNA sprinkled in other films. Like Forrest Gump, for example. I mean, like the D-Day scene for Saving Private Ryan. I mean, there's a handful of movies that definitely steal from this. But I did read that, Samuel Fuller did not want to include graphic depictions of blood in The Big Red One, as the movie was intended to be a more realistic and emotionally charged portrayal of war rather than a gore-soaked action film like I was talking about earlier. The film focuses on the human cost of war, exploring the psychological effects on soldiers and their experiences rather than solely focusing on violence. So I get that. I mean, the only scene that's like bloody is D-Day, when the water is red, which is crazy. That's just insane. I think it's almost kind of comical, but like that they're the Unstoppable Five, and like the Four Horsemen of the apocalypse, they're called, and like every time someone joins them, the guy gets like killed. And like the D-Day example is where they're like, all right, number one, Number 2. Number 3, they're sending out all these guys, and they're just dying, trying to, blow up the, fence, basically. And it's interesting because it's like, oh, they're just a number, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And they're just expendable. Which, war, there's so many casualties, it's just sad. But for Private Vinci, the Italian guy, Samuel Fuller originally wanted Martin Scorsese as him. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Scorsese couldn't do it because he was doing Raging Bull, which is so funny because we talk about this all the time, how all our movies just randomly connect. And
synchronicities between the different movies.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Because we just did Raging Bull last month, and we weren't going to do this movie. This movie was going to be like last this month, is what we kind of decided, but then we moved it up to the beginning because Das Boot is hard to find streaming-wise.
And any reasonable amount of time to watch.
Yeah, it's a long fucking movie. The director's cut, at least. Even the standard cut's long. But we're going to get to it. So, yeah, we're doing that movie, by the way, Das Boot, because I haven't listed the movies, but I will list them on Instagram. They'll already be posted by the time you see this review. The schedule, at least. But yeah, pretty interesting how they all just our movies lately have like lined up, and we picked these movies at fucking random, by the way.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, and like
you picked most of them, Jake. So
originally, this was going to be a totally different topic. Month, like focus. We were just going to do random first watches. Then we decided to shift to war movie first watches. Specifically, because we haven't had a war movie in months and months.
Yeah.
The Beast, I think, was the last one.
Yeah.
In February or January or February. So,
and I think this is fitting for Memorial.
Yeah,
Memorial Day coming up.
Coming up. So yeah, and like all of the movies we're watching are World War II movies, also.
Yeah.
And like, I think we both like war movies. So
yeah, definitely.
It was something fun to do, shake it up just a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like totally random because like we had to scramble and just kind of like look through the list and like then we even pulled like this wasn't even on our list. We just pulled it off of like Google, Google search.
It was a good find.
It's always funny, like when we do these. Like it seems like the most random like ones that we pull in are the ones that have all these like connections to other things, which is really funny. Yeah,
definitely. I love it. It's great. We're going to have to cut here real quick. I need to go grab my computer charger. Okay, so back to it. So yeah, I love how all our movies connect to one another for the most part, and it's so random, and I don't know. It's like serendipitous. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun when that stuff happens.
Yeah. And again, kudos to you because Jake, you've been picking a lot of them lately. We picked these together, but I even was like, oh, should we not watch Big Red 1? Let's do something else instead. You're like, no, let's do Big Red 1. So I don't know, it's just perfect. And what's funny is Raging Bull was the first one of last month, and this one is the first of this month. So
yeah, which again, it wasn't supposed to be. So.
No. Pretty funny. What do you think of the scene with the delivering the baby?
It's a interesting scene.
Yeah.
I don't know that it really adds anything to the movie.
That's a great point.
It's kind of a team building moment, but also not. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It was fine, but yeah.
It's interesting.
I don't think it was needed.
I would agree. It's a good scene, but it's like you said, it doesn't add anything.
Yeah, it's I think there to kind of show a bright spot, and surrounded by all this terrible stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
But again, like that's one of the things that confused me about the movie a little bit. I was like, what is this movie trying to tell us? You know, like, I don't know. Unless that's like something that really happened
I would imagine
to
it
Fuller, and like he was like, that was kind of crazy. I'm gonna put it in here.
did. Yeah.
But
And I
you know, I mean, I don't know.
I wonder if the restoration 2004 version maybe adds to that. We'll have to look into that.
I mean, it's just like, I don't know. We don't need to keep beating up on it.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, this movie I thought it looked amazing on Amazon Prime. Usually Amazon Prime streaming wise is like hit or miss. But I thought it looked great it was just HD. I thought it looked awesome. But yeah, you get to the concentration scene, camp scene at the end, and you've got this little kid that the sergeant like takes under his wing and like wins his trust and starts, you know, getting some life out of this kid, but then the kid dies. And he's like, there's the voiceover of basically saying that the sergeant walked around with the kid on his shoulders for like a few hours, even though he was already like passed away, which is like fucked up. Like that scene is so powerful.
Which is like really the only time in the movie that you see him get affected by something that happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is definitely the most powerful scene in the movie, I think.
Yeah. And then you get that bookend with him killing another German soldier that's well, he doesn't kill him. He like basically attempts to kill him. You think he kills him, which is interesting. And you find out again, it's been 4 hours, the war's already over. But then they realize, hey, like, oh, the soldier's still alive. And they're like, all right, we're going to save him, God damn it. And yeah, pretty interesting.
Yeah.
The scene with like the hospital, like the psychiatric hospital, was also very interesting. What did you think about that scene?
Yeah, I know that's
I almost
like
forgot about it.
Something that they would do a lot was like take over like kind of like civilian installations and kind of use them as like cover almost, you know?
Yeah.
And like there was, I feel like the woman that helps them is supposed to be like a French underground resistance fighter, which is like could have been conveyed in a different way that was a little bit less like
Yeah, I thought
out
she
of
was
place.
also like within the like kind of mentally handicapped people there. Or like mentally unstable.
There's like a very fast, almost throwaway line that I think the sergeant says, like, we're meeting an underground like resistance fighter and she's gonna help us like get in. It's very quick, and if you aren't paying attention, you'll miss it.
I think I missed that one.
What's going on? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I get what he was trying to do with that scene and kind of show like how like, you know, we didn't want to like target these civilians, you know, just to kill Nazis, but I don't know, could have been handled in a different way and maybe a little bit more tactful way, I guess. I did like the end where the crazy guy picks up the gun and is like, you know, shooting.
I'm like you. Yeah. Like killing people, which is crazy. Yeah. I think this movie is just very of its 70s time. And I think that's kind of what we're hung up on a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's a good movie. I gave it a great rating on Letterboxd. I gave it a 4 with no heart. But I liked it. I don't know. It's a very well done movie. The acting's great. It just, again, it kind of suffers by its datedness, and I think that's where it fails a little bit for us and our generation.
It's not groundbreaking, which I think is maybe why we're a little iffy on it. Like,
Yeah.
because there's some other movies in like the 80, 81, 82 time frame that we've talked about that were like truly like revolutionary and like
Blade
incredible. Yeah. Which is like, you know, like
Raiders.
movies like, yeah, I mean, like they broke all of the rules of the like 70s, you know, style and
So different.
to like incredibly, like their longevity is just incredible because it feels contemporary
Yeah.
almost, even though it's obviously not.
Yeah.
Or
That's
like
interesting.
this one, the style is just dated and you can feel it is that way, you know?
Yeah. And it almost kind of reminds me of Chariots of Fire a little bit in that
Yes.
regard, too.
Yeah.
Knocking it out of the park here, Jake. With these movies that tie together. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good movie. I recommend watching it. Watch it at least
it's
once.
for sure worth watching.
Yeah. Rewatch value isn't... War movies, the rewatch value is not always there for me because they're just heavy subject matter, and it's not like
Yeah.
I'm watching a war movie I'm not like, oh, let's go watch this war movie every year.
Like
You know what I
watch
mean?
people get ripped apart like on a
Yeah.
regular basis. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the only downside with war movies for me. It's like the same thing as biopics. Like biopics, you watch it once, you're like, okay, I don't give a shit
Yeah.
anymore. But yeah, I would highly recommend watching this movie. It was a good movie, and I'm excited for this month. We've got a handful of good movies that Jake and I have never seen. We've got let's see what's next. We've got Come and See, which we're going to have our friend Daniel on the podcast. He was on our Once Upon a Time in America podcast episode, and he's the one that he owns it on Criterion Collection Blu-ray, and I literally have it in my living room, and he's been wanting me to watch it with him, and he mentioned it before I even had this idea for this War Month, and I think it'll be perfect, and I'm excited to watch it. It's apparently like you see it once, and you're like, I never want to fucking see this movie again. That's what I've heard. So I'm looking forward to that, somewhat, you know.
Yeah.
We've got Empire of the Sun, Spielberg, which I've never seen.
Yeah.
We've got Das Boot, which we've never seen, and I'm looking forward to that because I hear that's awesome, and it's super high rated on IMDb's top 250. It's like, I think it's like 74 or something like that. So we got some good movies coming this month. I'm looking forward to them, even though they're all probably depressing because they're war movies, but should be a good time. And yeah, I know this review was a little all over the place, but the movie was too a little bit. So
A little, yeah.
We're it's understandable. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Yeah, we'll lighten it up next month, I promise.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We're gonna do like comedies or something next month.